All right, it is time for another Dostie's view. Sorry I've been absent, but you know, it was summer, it was kiteboarding season. So what I wanted to talk about today was Telemark boots and what's coming down the pike. Nothing is coming until maybe now the introductory date has been delayed. So my gut already knew that's what was going on, and what's coming from Scarpa is probably the beginning of a new line, but and maybe it will be a new line, I honestly don't know. But my guess is what's coming is an updated TX Pro. There will be a new name for it. It'll have a much better walk mode. It will have improved torsional rigidity. Well, we don't know at this point, but they haven't dialed the flex. And what I've tested, I was not particularly enamored with. Maybe if I had a pair of boots that were broken in by somebody else for 30 days, I'd be okay. But I tend to like soft flexing boots. My standard boot is a TX. And the only thing I don't like about it is the walk mode. Well, I don't like the weight either. I wish it were lighter, but I'm willing to accept the weight to have a sole that flexes the way I want it to flex. And it flexes beautifully. And it's broken in, okay? And I know that new plastic boots are stiffer than ones that are broken in. So the test boots that I tested were by and large too stiff. And I also didn't think that the flex was in the right location. It tended to flex towards the toe. And so I like feeling the sensation of weight through my metatarsals, through the ball of my foot. And that was not the case. But knowing that it's going to take even longer to come out with a boot that is not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, quite honestly, I'm looking for an F1. So that Telemark's well. So I decided, and here's the thing, I'm looking for something that is optimized for touring and is an acceptable compromise for downhill. Most people would say the TX is that, except for the tourability of the cuff. So that technology already exists. That's pretty well perfected. It's easy to adapt. But the weight thing, I don't think you're going to get rid of that much weight. And so I decided, because that much weight cannot be gotten rid of without compromising the flex of the sole, I decided to go for a lightweight F1 boot and modify it to make it work for Telemark. It's got 2 pin toes with the Dynafit inserts. That's standard. It's got a bellows, which means you can Telemark in it. And F1s, the original F1s all had bellows. There was, I think, 3 versions. I got hold of one of them on eBay, and it was the very first version, and it had a walk mode that, frankly, I thought was a little janky and, quite frankly, heavy. And I was surprised to learn, I kept it on for my first couple of Telemark adventures with this boot, and I thought it was too stiff in the cuff, because I ski in walk mode, and as soon as I locked that thing down, man, I had a really rigid cuff, which some of you would really like. So good on you, keep it on there, but it was too stiff for me. And there was a bunch of other things that I didn't like about it. I didn't think that the standard instep buckle was not optimal for me. It was too far forward. And I like the classic instep buckle of Scarpa, of many of their models, and that was not on the F1. So there was a lot of things that I wanted to change on it. So there was a lot of things that I did change on it. And I have not been able to give it the final test, but I'm confident it'll be good for mellow tours for sure. And I'm fairly confident, since I used to ski in leather, although I wouldn't call myself that proficient in it now. I am definitely codependent on a plastic soled boot. It, I think, would be fairly easy for me to adapt to a lower powered boot, which this will certainly be. So here's the many things that I did. All right, so it's got a bellows. It's got 2-pin inserts, so I can use it in a TTS binding and I can latch onto the heel. That was one of the other reasons I got rid of this, is when this was on, it got in the way of the heel lever. I couldn't get the heel lever to really snap on tight because this stuck out so far on the back. So it was kind of loosely connected. And that then motivated me for my second modification. I really like the NTN connection at the duck butt. I think, for me, I've made the adaptation, and I think I telemark better with an NTN connection. So I wanted NTN connection on this. Thankfully, Bobby Tuso goes by the name of Bobby Too Slow, and I'm fairly certain from his postings on backcountrytalk.com that he is not slow, but he's just having fun with his real last name. Anyway, he took the concept that Garmin introduced with NTN, and that is a duck butt that you bolt on. And so he made his own using 3D modeling, and you can get it online at shapeways.com. And it's an awesome little modification. Now, is it easy to add? Well, it depends upon your proficiency with tools and knowing what to do. And I frankly was having a hard time getting this rubber sole off the plastic base until I looked at Bobby's notes, and I saw that, oh, you need to heat this with a heat gun so that you can peel this sole that's glued to the scafo off. Otherwise, I mean, that's really good glue. It does not let go easily. Now, I did some other things too. I cut an outline for where this goes on the boot, and how you position that and align it. Ideally, you'd have a jig, but no one has a jig for that. But there's an easy way to do it. You clamp your boot into a Meijo or a Lynx, and then you just insert this duck butt to the back of the claw, set your boot down on it, and then mark where it should be. You got to be very careful with that, of course. And then you know where to cut out the sole. And I made cuts with a grinder, and then I heated it with a heat gun. All I used, an industrial strength heat gun would be a lot better. I just used a hair dryer. It worked. It did not let go easily, but I got it off. And then you just clean things off. You got that thing in position. You got to double, triple check your position. You got to make sure the distance from here to the pin line is the correct distance. And then if you are fairly confident, measure like 3-4 times, double check, double check, double check. Once you got that down, you drill the holes for bolting this on. Then you put T-nuts inside. The other thing I do when I put the T-nuts in, I heat them up with that heat gun so that they melt into the little prongs, melt into the plastic so they don't spin. And then you tighten things up and put it in the boot, and I got lucky, man. It lined up perfect. So that was the first thing I did, and that's probably the most important thing I can recommend that you do with an F1 or an F3 if you want a lighter weight touring boot, Telemark touring boot with a better walk mode without waiting for it to come out from Scarpa, or you could also change the cuff to a Scarpa AT cuff, like from a Strali or something like that. The question is, you got to have the right size so that the position of these pivot bolts lines up properly. Then the other thing is, this is the real problem, is getting rid of the old pivot bolts. You got to grind them out from the inside, That's an exercise in itself. But more importantly is having something easy to put in there. And I found some carriage bolts for furniture at the local Ace Hardware and all the other pieces, and I was able to swap that out. I only needed to grind out one, okay? So that gave me the ability. The main reason I wanted to grind that out is because, like I said, I didn't like the position of the standard instep buckle. I wanted it to go through these little nubbins there and right at the corner of your instep. And so I stole an instep strap from an old pair of blue T2s. I think they were like version 3. That pretty much did it. The only other thing, like I said, I removed this and I replaced the cuff buckle with just a power strap. That's all it is. And I think that's going to give me enough power. Can I lock the cuff? No, but I always ski in walk mode anyway. So I think, and in the whole process, I saved 8 ounces per boot. Now I don't remember exactly what it is, but I think I'm pretty close to 3.5 pounds per pair for these boots. It might be as high as 4. I don't really remember. But the point is, they are lighter weight. They do flex. I can use an NTN connection. I can use Dina Fiddle efficiency for touring. I don't need a whole lot more. I mean, if I need more power, I'm going to have to wait for Scarpa to deliver their new boot. And frankly, I'm tired of waiting, so I made my own. And I encourage you to do the same. Remember, we all got to keep doing this so that they do bring a new boot around. And so the way we do that is we all get together, turn our friends on, and spread Telemark.